Right, so I watched an anime recently called Hoshi no Samidare, or Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer is the translated name. This is an anime from early 2000s, somehow released in 2022, almost 2023. The original manga is 2005 to 2010, so I guess there it fits a little better, but it's still a weird time capsule of an anime. It's bad, I can pretty confidently say that, but there are also gems here, otherwise I wouldn't keep watching it. Best example being the first episode, as with typical prophesized hero setup and the main characters just having none of it. Hilarious. But it quickly goes away from that, so, well, I guess I wouldn't recommend it, if I'm being reasonable. What is it about? A giant toy wooden hammer is threatening to destroy the Earth, unless the 12 Beast Knights can stop it. Yuhi is contacted by a real cool sounding lizard and is told to fight for the sake of a princess, the planet, and his own dream. I mean, doesn't this sound like something that would air in 2002? And it would be okay then, all things considered. Okay, what did I like? The comedy in the first episode, which honestly I wasn't sure was even intended to be comedy. The main character is shown to be this jerk, and the first thing he does is toss poor Kenjiro Tsude out of the window. I burst out laughing a bunch of times during the beginning part of this. And actually it felt like the entire thing isn't treating itself seriously in any way. That was definitely something that anime needs more of. But this leads into the problems, and I struggle toward it in a way which doesn't veer too much into that direction, so I'll just point out that the randomness is another thing I enjoyed. The powers are extremely inconsistent, enemies make no sense, sometimes being a serious threat, sometimes a total joke, and that is actually great for a story, because again, it makes it so much less serious. Oh, and the characters are nice. There is this diverse cast and everyone gets the spotlight, so it's quite a bit more character development than would happen in about 90% of anime. I won't go into specific, but the quality of the character writing is definitely another good part. What did I dislike? Or more like, what would I complain about? This anime series actually does treat itself seriously past a certain point, and I believe it's when the first major plot point occurs. It's actually kind of difficult to say it without making it an obvious spoiler. Anyway, past that, it's nearly constant dead serious tone, and it even works for a time. But there is a giant wooden hammer, and cute goofy animals, and a silly relationship this cosplay chick has with the main character. It's okay, I'll just say it's stupid. There is an explanation why this entire thing happens, and I think spoiling this... Okay, so the setup is what these two superpowered beings exist. One of them is obsessed with destroying Earth. In turn, this breaks time and space, eventually bringing back everything to how it was. So the other superpowered being tries to stop it. And the best idea we could come up with is this game. 12 challenges for 12 knights and the princess. If they win, no blowing up the Earth. There are limits, like these godlings can't directly interfere with the fights, and other nonsense like this, but the important bit is that all this happened when they were kids, hence why the entire thing is so childish. This goofy looking hammer, completely random animals, yada yada yada. All this is because, well, kids. Can't exactly have a deep intricate setup when you're 4. This is a good idea, I can admit that. However, I just don't think the overall story is done well enough. It is too goofy, inconsistent, and somehow deadpan serious. The writer tries to mess around with the formula, this typical anime bullshit of power of friendship beats everything, and then does the same pitfall anyway. They try to write a darker character, an anti-hero, and then make them into a hero anyway. The entire thing is like that. It actually is very much live long enough to become a villain for the writer of a story. They were meant to make it interesting, not join the schlock fest. Really, this sort of story is ripe for very interesting storytelling, and I believe there's another anime which does it just so much better. Bokurano. The original manga actually ran from 2003 to 2009, so it's fairly close to the 2005 to 2010 of Biscuit Hammer. Maybe writers interacted in some way, maybe there was a rivalry, I don't know, but the gist is what Bokurano has no comedy. It's completely serious, and it's just... I still believe it's a home to the most repulsive character in fiction I've ever seen. Have to mention that. Bokurano is just a better story in almost every single way, and the only thing is done better here is comedy, which again doesn't really exist and never work in the first place, so it's not really competition. I guess one thing I really enjoyed, which I didn't mention, is the end. And I mean the epilogue, and the end of the last episode goes 10 years into the future, where everyone ends up and where they all went. The fights before that were god awful, some of the worst I've ever seen. The reasoning behind everything the characters do there is just dumb and yada yada yada. I think in the end I'm just disappointed, because it has some really strong parts, and I was consistently surprised as to where exactly it was going. Considering how predictable and lazy a lot of anime is, this was something I'd very strongly praise, but god damn it, it's sad how it all went out of the window and became dumb, predictable and lazy. I'd recommend skipping the last 4 episodes and just watching the last 5 minutes or so. Although probably it can be done even earlier. The last good part is the Ice Girl's character's development. The Owl Boy is okay, but this is definitely where it started going down the drain far too fast to consider good. So, I'd say Hoshi no Samedara is just bad. So, just watch Bokurano. And vomit at around episode 4, I think.